Welcome to the Cape Henlopen State Park, Fort Miles Historical Area, plotting room for Seacoast Artillery Battery 519. Fort Miles had a variety of effective fire control defensive measures used to defend the Delaware Bay from enemy insurgents or attack. The Fort Miles Fire Control System employs searchlights, harbor mines, anti-aircraft, and both long and short-range artillery. One of these defensive measures were the two 12-inch Seacoast artillery guns located in Battery 519. These guns were directed through the battery's plotting room. We will discuss the battery's plotting room, marked in red. The plotting room required a team of around 12 soldiers to handle the plotting board and the analog computers used to adjust the target coordinates. The plotting room received the target coordinates from two of its supporting base and stations located within the fire control observation towers. A plotting board was used to plot and track a target's movement and range. Many of the plotting board functions described below were performed repeatedly during several successive observation or firing intervals. These intervals were indicated throughout the harbor defense system by the ringing of the time interval bell. The time interval bell was one component in the larger fire control timing system for the batteries. A series of bells were connected to a clock-like device that chimed a series of 3 rings every 30 seconds. This time interval was called the observation or firing intervals. The purpose of this system was to act as a sort of pulse by which all components in the fire control system operated. Two base and stations located within the observation tower supported each battery during a target's observation and tracking. Using several different sighting scopes, the tower observers collected the sighted coordinates of the target. The tower observer duties were to spot and continuously track the potential target and report its location to the plotting room. The tracked range and azimuth of the target was used by the plotting room to triangulate and plot the target's movement and projected range. Looks like we just received a flash message from the command post. Harbor Defense Command Post to all stations. Enemy ship located off the east coast. The first base and station located in Observation Tower Number 2 overlooking the coast scans for the target. Tower Number 2 has located the target. Using an azimuth scope, the tower observer begins tracking the target. As the observer maintains the target's track, the azimuth scope reader reads the azimuth and transmits the reading to the plotting room. The second base and stations located in Observation Tower Number 24 overlooking the coast is also scanning for the target. Tower Number 24 has located the target, and using a depression rangefinder the observer begins tracking the target. As the observer maintains the target's track, the position finder reader reads its azimuth and transmits the reading to the plotting room. A depression rangefinder can track a target's range and azimuth. The readings received from Tower Number 24 were used to set the plotting board's station 1 arm. This formed the first part of a triangle. The readings received from Tower Number 2 were used to set the plotting board's station 2 arm. This formed the second part of a triangle. Calculating other targeting variables, the plotting triangle was completed by adjusting the board's gun arm, where a set forward point was obtained. The target's range was read from a scale on the gun arm. The target's azimuth was read where the gun arm passes over the board's outer azimuth ring, giving an aiming point. The base of the triangle was the known distance between the towers. Plotting of the reported readings on the plotting board was performed repeatedly during several successive firing intervals or ringing of the time interval bell. These plotted positions enabled the plotting room to determine a target's track or set forward point. Before the advent of the modern pocket calculator, slide rules and variations of them were used to do complex mathematical calculations. These devices, like the one used above, were known as an analog computer. They could perform trig functions, logarithms, multiplication, and other calculations. These type of simple mechanical devices were also used to perform the calculations that took us to the moon. As the plotting room establishes the aiming point, it's converted using several analog computers and meteorological boards to get the target's corrected or adjusted range data, known as the set forward point. The set forward data was sent to the battery's guns. It was the plotted set forward point where the battery guns were aimed and fired, not at the target. As the plotting room was calculating the set forward point, the battery was preparing the guns to engage the target. When the set forward point was fed into the gun's fire control settings, the guns were fired at that set forward point according to the time interval bell. There's one for the boys. News flash. Fort Miles Battery 519 does it again. Protecting the entry to the Delaware Bay. This was the ultimate goal assigned to Fort Miles. Through constant training, drilling, and practice, the servicemen and women of Fort Miles never had to fire a hostile shot. What you have just seen was the basic operations of the battery's plotting room. This process for tracking and plotting a target was repeated over and over again in sequence with a time interval bell to predict a target's position and course. This process relied on the timely reporting of information from the tower observers and the correct calculations performed by the plotting room soldiers. We hope you will enjoy your stay, and thank you for visiting the Fort Miles Historical Area Battery 519 in the Cape Henlopen State Park.